What if episode 9, the season finale, imagines what if the Watcher broke his oath? Ooh. But before I get into that review, or this review, consider this your spoiler warning because I will be talking spoilerish-ish. So let's get on with this review. So here we have it, folks. The accumulation of every one of the episodes that we saw. And our Watcher goes out and grabs a hero from different timelines to make the Guardians of the Multiverse. Yes, that is the name they chose. I was like, okay. So first off, my raw thoughts is that we are getting obviously a very shortened version of the Infinity Saga with Ultron as our Thanos, if you will, for better or less. And I'm here for it. I really enjoyed it. It was like its own comic book. That's the way they did it, which I can't fault them for it. It was a new and reimagined way of combating Ultron and his Infinity Stones. And again, I enjoyed it. There was no faults with it. I was engaged through the whole thing. I did think that Thor was way too not serious, right? And I get it. That's what we saw in all of this. He's been this just straight muscle, no brawn. But to be fair, when we saw in Infinity War, he was basically alone, almost defeated Thanos in going and getting, Stormbreaker, to almost, like I said, defeating Thanos at the end. If it wasn't for him not going for the head and going for the chest, he is, he could think, but this one they made him just a complete buffoon, just being nothing but strength. But again, I enjoyed the different characters that they grabbed. The one that I was more shocked of was Killmonger. Was anybody else shocked about that pick? But ultimately, we knew that it was all in the Watcher's plan, basically. It was he needed a villain to be greedy for power to be able to complete his task in saving the multiverse with Doctor Strange's help. And like we saw in our regular timeline, Tony Stark was the ultimate hero that snaps his fingers and saves our universe. In this one, it was pretty cool to see Doctor Strange be the hero. And even though he is locked up in his own little reality that he made, it was cool to see him as the ultimate hero, if you will, even though he did a lot of dirty stuff to get that powerful. But at the end of the scope of the things, or in the grand scope of things, I should say, the Watcher allowed that because he knew that he was going to need Doctor Strange in his full power to be able to defeat Ultron with all the Infinity Stones. Now, they did play around with the lore a little bit. A lot of people after episode 8 were wondering why the stones work in multiverses as opposed to what we know in comics, but Marvel chose this route where they can, and they've been both. So if you're a fan of either run, because there is a run where the stones, like I've said over and over and over again, where the stones work in multiverses, and also ones that only work in said universes, they chose to dangle both carrots to us, and I'm okay with this. So if you're a fan of that storyline, or if you're a fan of the other storyline, you got a little piece of the pie. So we all ate in these episodes, and I enjoyed it. But they did play around a little bit with it, but engaging, fun. The voice acting, the twists, the turns. Everybody must have seen the Killmonger part where he was gonna betray and he tries to, play it off as the good guy, but ultimately we know that even in our reality, even though he had a point, he definitely had a point, and in this one too, he definitely had the point, saying, "Hey, we have the power. We could fix things in all of our universes," but he ultimately was driven more by power and less for, the cause that they were fighting. And I also enjoyed when they brought back, when we saw Natasha at the end, where her world's destroyed, it's only her. There's no one else left in the entire world but Black Widow. Where he takes her basically to, well, I didn't know at the time. When I just knew that he changed it, I'm like, oh my god, because I saw Thor was fighting, and then we saw Captain Marvel, and my mind went, oh my god, this is post Endgame, right? Like in Phase 4, and I was stoked. I'm like, yes, we got Black Widow back. But then the full scope of the thing is that he brought her back right in the Age of Ultron. I mean, not the Age of Ultron, where the first Avengers, where they're fighting Loki. But it was still cool to see that, even though it gave me false hopes. I was screaming like, yeah, we got her back and stuff like that. And again, like I said in the beginning, they played around with it. It was just, again, this is a what if story. So all you have to do is change 1 degree and everything changes. And just like in our universe, Steve ends up with his girl, you know, having his last dance, and me thinking fucked up the whole multiverse with that action. But that's neither here nor there. In this universe, Peggy gets taken back to her own timeline, and surprise, surprise, if you saw episode 1, where, again, how, you know, Tony Stark's father ends up building the Iron Man suit, that we know that Steve got to try to help out Peggy. Guess what? Surprise, surprise, just like in our universe, where he's frozen in time, in ice, I should say. In this one, he basically does the same thing, and Peggy is going to get to live out her happy life with her main squeeze, Steve. But I enjoyed it, all 9 episodes. I'm glad that there's going to be a season 2. Beautifully done, beautifully acted. The animation was amazing. I love the fact that a lot of the original actors came back. I wish all of them would have came back. I know right now Disney is working new things along with Marvel as far as contracts and such, but an enjoyable series. I highly recommend it. If no one has watched them, or if you're falling behind, you'll completely enjoy this series. For me, this series gets an A, even though I'm not rating this as far as like my normal reviews, but it's completely worth the watch. Yes, are there things that I don't like? Of course, but it does more good than bad, and it definitely makes your mind think to the what if. Even though at the end of the day, we all want the what ifs that are fantastical. And in this episode, they decide, or in these episodes, and in this series, or in this episode, the season 1, they decided just to finagle a little bit at a time to then it end to the heroes that we see in episode 9, and I'm here for it. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. What did you think about What If? Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And like always, that's a wrap.